It was recording, so I've bounced it. Let's see whether it's streaming now. Bah, I can't tell if I'm streaming. Thanks, Twitch. Oh, I can. Good. I'm now streaming. I can tell because it is really showing me some of the dumbest ads. Okay, well, now that I'm streaming, what I'll be doing today is working on the facial rig. We're going to be adding in some new scaling bones, and the big question for me is whether the jaw scaling bone is going to be attached to the head scaling bone or not. And I think it probably should be, but let's go ahead and experiment. So if we go inside, we can take this bone and we can extend out another set here. We'll just go ahead and disconnect these. And these will be our jaw scaling bones, which we're going to obviously put somewhere here-ish. Let's go ahead and name them. We'll call this one jaw scale L, and this one will be jaw scale R. With the idea being that when you scale these, your jaw scale will increase. I don't know why. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know that we need to have scaling separately. I don't know what I'm thinking. Deleted. And these two bones don't need to be separated either. They can just be one head scaling bone. I can't imagine why you'd ever scale the left half of your head and the right half of your head differently. Hey, Cartonio, we're working on scaling and stuff. And I'm working out some of the best techniques that I can for scaling the head. And those are going to involve changing what we did last week and doing some new stuff. I hope everyone is looking forward to loads and loads and loads of rigging. Head scale. And these get a new parent called head scale. These bones don't exist anymore. Goodbye. And in addition to that, we're going to have a jaw scale bone. Yeah, we already deleted the old one, so that's fine. Just grab this guy, bring him down here, and this will be our jaw scaling bone. There we are. Jaw scale. I'm going to go ahead and pull these bones out a little bit larger so that we can tell right away that these are critical scaling bones rather than animation bones or anything like that. And now, of course, we have to paint the skin. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's change it over to weight paint, select the right thing, the right bone. We've got our auto normalize on, everything looks good. We'll just go ahead and use this to paint whatever. It doesn't really matter at this stage. We're just doing some testing. And we'll go ahead and hit them with a blur. Blur! Then down here for the jaw scaling bone, we're going to want, hey Bearing Logic, I'm working on mesh scaling. I hope that you are in the mood to watch that. Rigging up a mesh with a really complicated set of things. There we are. To be honest, this is not how it's going to look in the long run because we're going to have a bone which actually rotates the jaw. And that's not this bone. This bone is for scaling the jaw. The only reason I'm painting it right now is so I can get a feel for the weights that I want to use. Obviously, I do not need to... you don't need those red ones, so let's get rid of them. Go away. Go away. Do I have this backwards? Go away. Shoo! Go away. I can't seem to hit these guys. Go away. Is this one of those things where the normals have to be exactly right in order for you to hit them? That's really obnoxious. Maybe if I scale -5. No, still not working. I can't ever remember which of these is the brush strength. Well, obviously that's not it. Okay, so that's it. But it's not working. Darn it. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter that much. We're just doing this for testing purposes, but I sure would like it to not randomly select points inside of the face. I honestly can't tell what's going on. Rotate X. Well, we'll work with it later. For now, what we're going to want to do is just paint this a little bit differently so that we get a real feel for the jaw increasing at the right spot. No, not darken, blur. Piccolino says the jaw looks hilarious. Yeah, I'm just kind of working out how the bones should be. I'll be doing the final weight painting much, much later. But basically, the idea is that when you start from here, you're going to be able to scale up the jaw and get a reasonable jawline out of it. There are some questions as to how that's going to work with the lips, and I'll have to resolve those. But you can also do this scaling on just one particular axis if you prefer. There's no reason that you absolutely have to scale it on all three axes at once. And you can also rotate to change the exact jaw line. So that should give you quite a lot of control once I've painted it correctly. But the kind of weird fangs that it's giving me right now are definitely not on my list of cool things. So what we're going to do is we're going to extend from this and create ourselves the jaw rotation bone, which actually does the animation. So that's going to go back here where the jaw actually rotates. And what we're going to do is we're going to end up painting the jaw for that bone more than for the one in front. But the one in front is going to have a slightly different set of weights, and it should work out fairly well if we do it right. There we are. There we are. What the heck? Come on. Paint. Did I break something while I wasn't looking? Because that should work. Oh, there's what I broke. No problem. Boom, chicka boom. There we are. Let's do some blurring and some lightening and stuff just to soften it a little. Obviously, the lower lip needs to be painted, but this is where it gets complicated, because the lower lip needs to open with the jaw, obviously. But how can you do that while still having the animation bones in the same rig as the upper lip? And the answer is I'm not sure you can. I think that you might have to have two different rigs for the upper and lower lip. Yeah, that's really gross. Let's see whether we can fix that. It's tough when they're nailed together like that. There is a way to mask, but it's hard. So if I go in here, and instead of masking, what I'll do is just select some of these guys and hide them. Oh, it doesn't take. That's no good. Can anyone remember how to hide specific polygons? I can't remember how to do it. Oh, a whole bunch of people popped in. Piccolina says that I'll get a pretty adjustable model. That's the idea. The Moon is a Cheese says hi, and Evil Luigi says hi. Hello to everybody. I'm trying to remember how to hide verts. I want these hidden verts to stay hidden when I go into paint mode, and I just can't remember how to do it. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. I can't remember. I don't see anything that looks like it would help, though. for now, I'll just be careful. Okay, let's see if I can get rid of some of these fangs. I did the wrong one again, didn't I? This is definitely not the right way to do it. I can't remember how to do really advanced weight painting in Blender. There are ways to do it, I've forgotten them. So you shouldn't take this as a particularly good example of how to do this, because I can't remember how. And because of that, we've got some wacky stuff happening here. We'll have to definitely work this stuff out later. But I'm just testing to see whether or not it looks good at this point, and feels like it will work. So obviously we can see that there are some more points that we could really stand to have properly painted. The question is, how much time are you going to spend futzing around with this stuff when you really should be focusing on things that aren't going to matter, because this is all that are going to matter, because this is all temporary. Obviously, no one's going to open their mouth that wide. No one human. So there we are. We've got ourselves some mouth opening. The teeth don't follow along yet. That's a different story. But in the end, the basic idea is here. It's sound. Nope, too strong. So this is how our jaw opens and closes. Now this bone probably won't ever get scaled because it controls the rotation. It would be a little bit dangerous if it did get scaled. But what we can do is, if we revert this, Control R? Hello. There you are. This is the bone which we will be scaling. And you can see that it sort of works. There's some issues that we have to deal with, but basically it scales the other bone and follows along with it. When we rotate this, we end up rotating the other bone, and this is where the idea of using the same basic system, the same basic rig for both scaling and for movement becomes difficult, because this is a situation where we can't really get a good performance, not the way I've structured it, which is why I wanted to tackle it today. I figured this will be a good time for us to analyze exactly what it is supposed to be about. And I now know why I couldn't get it to weight paint properly, because there's no other bone for this. Oh, no, wait. That's... Yeah. It doesn't matter. As you can see, this is an unacceptable rotation. We can't rotate this to get the shape we want. Now, if it was a child of the jaw rotation bone, then we probably could get the rotation we want. And is there any downside to that? Well, let's try it out and find out. So what we're going to do is we are going to make this a parentless bone for a little bit. Boom. Whoa. Apparently we're not going to do that because we need to be in edit mode on a different object. There we are. We're going to take this bone here. This bone is called jaw scale. This is just called jaw. We're going to go ahead and clear the parent, and then we're going to assign this to have the parent of jaw. And then this to have the parent of head scaling. There it is. And that is the other way around. So when we do it this way, then all of the painting that we did to get that jaw to work is no longer sensible, because now this still controls all the jaw, and this doesn't control Jack. So we have to repaint it And I know that that's why you came here, right? To watch me paint and paint and paint and paint and paint. Evil Luigi says he's going to leave. Fine. Be that way. There we are. Since this is separate from the lower lips, I don't have to worry about accidentally scaling up the lower lip when I do it. And that might be good. So now you can see that we can scale the jaw like this. We can also rotate it to give us a specific kind of jaw as we prefer. So, you know, anything will do. What does it look like when we shrink it? Oh, that looks pretty good. And of course, when we move it, we get a different sort of appearance. So all three of those are perfectly viable. And that's good. On the other hand, when we rotate this, you can see that it follows along just fine. So we get a nice situation where the jaw and the jaw scaling get along well. The issue is how we're going to be able to get the lower lips in on this mess. Right now we're doing this thing here with these guys. The problem is that if we do that, it only affects the parts that are painted as being part of that. And the lower lips aren't really part of that chain. Now, depending on the situation, we may have a different sort of lower lip control. This is the original lower lip control, and you can see that it is basically separate. So what these guys have is a situation where, if we look at the weight paint, we've got, come on. Okay, so we've got a lot of jaw painted with the mouth chain here. Also, the mouth chain starts much higher up. We'll probably want to do that. Sorry, for some reason the mouse cursor or the camera center was in the middle of nowhere. So that is pretty good. And then the lower lip here is a much softer set. Okay, so what they've done is they've done exactly what I'm trying to do, so I guess it'll work. It's just a matter of doing it. Their version of this is a little bit different than ours, so let's go ahead and change it up a little bit. This is more or less what theirs is like, but their lower lips are going to be slightly different, and so we're going to go ahead and rig up the lower lip. Now, in almost every situation, the lower lip has the same three-pronged animator in almost every facial rig I've ever seen. So here you can see this three-pronged animator, 1, 2, 3, and it's the same for everyone else. They have this overall animator. Now, the only purpose of this bone here is to push the lower lip out when you rotate like this. That gives the bone a different fulcrum point. So if we were to rotate this bone from here, you see how we get that kind of lower lip. Whereas if we do it from here, it's a much tighter lip. However, that fulcrum joint is actually pretty rare. And it's not very common. There's a second fulcrum joint for each one of the lips, each one of the lip animators, which means that this has a total of 6, 3 of which are in the same spot. And that means that you can have a lot of distinct control over each of the bones. Oh, it's probably for this. It's probably for this kind of horizontal motion. So if we rotate it like this, you can see how that gives us some really good sneering. Whereas if we do it from up here, it's not nearly as natural because the kind of response you get is different. The fulcrum point is different. It keeps you from having to do very much translational animation. I kind of like the idea, but I'm not sure that those are in the right spot. I know that in Life is Strange, the rig they use doesn't have these because they use almost entirely translational animations for their faces. They also have a couple of other rigs going on that these guys have either combined or ignored. But I think that this rig is overall better than the Life is Strange rig. I just don't know for sure whether or not these offsets are something I want. The fundamental idea of this rig is that there's no translational animation. It's all rotational animation. But to be honest, I'm not sure that that is important at all. I think that translational animation is probably fine. The only reason that it might not be fine is if we've got scaling going on. Because when we scale it, then the distance, well, even if we scale it now, it's still going to screw up. If anything, it's worse. Yeah. Let's go without, but remember that that possibility exists. So we're going to go and create our 3 bones, our lip bones. Here's going to be our center lip. Lower lip center. Disconnect it and move it up into a lip area here. That's about right. And then we're going to go and extrude along the x-axis, hit forked, make this unconnected and make this unconnected. We'll move them out and move this forward and then scale x0 and then move it into position on the lip about here. There we are. With the idea being that these are going to be our lip animation points. The question is exactly where we want to place them, because it's obviously the butt of the bone, this back piece, that matters most. And that's where we're going to get most of our animation from. So we might have to move these around a little bit as we go. Still, that's not too bad. Let's go and our upper lips are currently not animated. The animation for the upper lips here is exactly the same as for the lower lips. One of the things I noticed is that it actually binds back to the back of the head. And I think that's to give a really easy sneering effect. See that? So there's a lot of rotational bones in this rig that are specifically just to make it so that you never have to translate any bones. You can always just use rotation to get what you need. And while that's clever, I don't think I need it. But the end purpose, the end point of what I'm saying here is that this is a completely separate rig from the cheek smile rig. And I think that that's probably the way to do it. So, this is the head scale. If you scale the head, it's not necessarily true that you want to scale the upper lip. But on the other hand, it does scale the lower lip, see? Yeah, okay, if it's going to scale the lower lip, it needs to scale the upper lip. So this is where we will put our upper lip bone. I'm going to name it upper lip center. I forgot to name these guys. So this is lower lip left. And this is lower lip right. Need another couple of bones here. Oh, screwed that up. Boom. Disconnect. Disconnect. Pull them forward, then scale x0. Oh, that might be too much. No, that worked out. Pull them down, bring them into our lips here. Like so. And this one will be upper lip left. And this one will be upper lip right. And we'll just go ahead and paint those guys in real quick. We've definitely caught some of the upper lip into the mix there. I guess I should probably undo all of that. I just... There we are. There we are. So the idea here is if I open the jaw, I won't have to worry too much about that. So we'll still have a little bit of worries because we got that red streak there for some reason. Can I get rid of that red streak? I don't need a red Sonic the Hedgehog. That's not going to work, is it? Oh, there's no other bone for it. That's right. That's fine. For now, we'll go ahead and live with it. The Moon is a Cheese is having fun with the Twitch for Android app. I've never used it, but it's definitely one of the apps I would guess is probably going to be awful, just because nobody cares. Twitch certainly doesn't. And then we'll go down here. We've got some stuff in the back that I see. I know I saw something in the back. Huh, interesting. Well, I'm not sure. Either way, let's go ahead and fix this up a little bit. Okay, there's got to be a way to not punch through. What does restrict mean? That's not going to help. There we are. Try that. No, that didn't help very much. Oh well, I'll clean it up afterwards. If anything, that's worse. I've got to figure out how to do this right. Blender's painting doesn't seem like it should be bad. I just can't figure out why I can't seem to get it to do what I want it to do when I want it to do it. I wish that I could. I need to look up some tutorials on how to paint in Blender. Best practices painting in Blender. All right, so if we look at this now, what we've got is, let's take it back to object mode so that I can actually see what we're doing. Let's see if I can bring up a texture here. Material, no. That would be okay if the light was pointed the right way. There we are. What lovely eyes you have. So we're going to go and take a look at how this animates. And I'm turning on the texture because how the cheeks shift is a big part of how it feels to animate. I think that'll work once I repaint it a little bit and take away some of the Joker-esque feel. Now the question is, when we move these, like with transforms, can we get some good shapes? And when we rotate them, can we get the lips to properly Yeah, so for example, if we rotate like this and then pull them back, yeah, it's gonna need some work. But I could scale them? No, scaling isn't what I want. I mean, I could scale them. So on the lower lips, that actually makes some sense. On the upper lips, it doesn't, and I've also not got it working right. So basically the question is what sort of painting job we do. So here you can see we've got this bulge out underneath the lip. See that? That happens because we've painted something below the bone. And to some extent you want that because there is something there. But on the upper lip, we have the exact same problem, including that one stray vert there. So the question is, when is it good and when is it bad? And there's no right answer. Those are always questions that you're going to need to ask and answer. But in general, I think it's pretty clear that this basic bone setup does support full facial animation. It's just that it may not... it may not be as easy as if I had some good rotational bones to do it with. And that really is the strength of the original model. It had a whole bunch of rotational bones that were placed very carefully so that I wouldn't have to do any translational animations. Yeah, this definitely needs some work. So one of the things I can't help but notice is that these smiles don't actually lift the cheeks at all. They just pull them back. And that might just be because of the white paint. So now the hidden verts are showing up as hidden. So why are they showing up as hidden now when they didn't show up as hidden before? Nothing changed. If I could have hidden verts before, it would have made things so much easier. Well, whatever. Let's go ahead and really pump up. There we are. Well, that's a little bit better, but this area is a little bit odd. These lips here are parted in a way that doesn't really make a lot of sense. I wonder whether that's left over from something. Like that's how it was modeled just for the sake of making it easy to properly paint. It's not too bad because I can just adjust things. So one of the things that I'd like for the ability to have big, loud emotions. One of the big problems with Life is Strange was the fact that it couldn't do really big emotions on those faces. The faces just couldn't handle it. Well, vaguely like that. So let's see whether or not this face can handle some big emotions. And also we'll pound out some of the additional painting that we might need to do. Also, if we scale these up, we can get some interesting facial expressions. Let's go ahead and open the jaw. Yay! The teeth are really going to ruin this because they don't pose properly at the moment. Still, we should be able to get an idea of what it would look like. Let's go ahead and get these lips rotating a little bit. So what I'm looking at is the edges of these face loops and trying to figure out whether or not they can support a really big facial expression. Obviously, there's a lot of chatter here where the weight painting is awful. I'm trying to ignore that because what I really care about is around the edges of the face. Around the edges of the expression here. So you can see how this folds here. That's a decent face loop, and it might be able to support... I don't know if there's quite enough. Now look at that chatter. Yeah, I think this will work. I think that this face can physically support big facial expressions. Only problem is that I need to paint the face to do it, and the face, it needs like a lot of painting done. This test painting is only very vaguely good enough. But let's take a quicker look here. If we scale up our chin, you can see how it scales up our lips. And that is going to be an issue. Why did I attach that to the chin scaling? Because I'm an idiot. These should be attached to the other scale. Here we are. These should be attached to the jaw itself. That was dumb. Try again. There we are. So now when we scale up, scale up. Okay, good. This is a little bit better. We're not going to have the problems that we had with the lips there. Got a big chin. Mr. Big Chin. So that will be fine. It looks a little silly, but that's the point. And when we open the lips, or the mouth, we get still a decent performance, aside from the missing teeth, as I said. So I think that this will work. I think that this is going to work. There's still some pieces to the puzzle that I haven't completely worked out, but you can already see how this is going to work. Look at that. Scaling up the whole head makes it instantly into a viable character, aside from some chatter where the painting is bad. So obviously, you're not going to want to make your main character look like this, but one of the keys here is that when you scale up a ridiculous number of things, you don't want your character to look like a nightmare. You want your character to just look viably ugly. And that's sort of what we're going for here. And Sleepy Germ 210 walked in. Hello. I'm doing facial rigs, which are really complicated. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to rig up the eyeballs. How widely set your eyes are is an important part of how the face looks. And unfortunately, very, very few games get that part in. Even The Sims doesn't do that. And that's something I'd like to have. And since I get it for free with this particular approach, I might as well do it. So we're going to have the eye movement and scaling bones separate from the eye, the bones of the eye that actually make the eye swivel. So we're going to put them a little bit at the front, I think. Yeah, this is probably for the best. Because otherwise the eyes will bulge out when we scale them, and that would be pretty awful. All right. So this will be... This will be a name. There it is. Eye scale left, and this will be eye scale right. And then the bones coming off of this will be the actual eye motion bones. And they go in the center of the eye. Which I think is actually like here. Well, I'll have to adjust the eye bones later, but this will be eye left, and this will be eye right. There we are. And now why would I want to do that? Because when I move the eyes in and out, I don't want the eyes to swing out of your head when you look left and right. So by making the eye bone attached to the eye scaling bone, when I move the eye scaling bone, the eye bone moves along. Now, the only issue is, at the moment, there's really not much painting in here. That's odd. Why did I inherit a whole bunch of facial change stuff? This is not... This should be a new bone. What's it grabbing? Look at that. What's going on? That's super weird. I really shouldn't have any of that stuff, so let's go ahead and get rid of it. It's inheriting from a bone long dead that had a completely different name. Super strange. Let's go ahead and see whether I missed anything. I did. Bruh. There you are. So, I just noticed that when we scale up, we end up increasing the size of the eye itself. We'll have to decide whether that's something we want. But for now, we're going to go and just paint around the edges of the eye here. Like this. Here we go. Boom. Easy, easy does it. Let's go ahead and just blur. Oops. Blur at the edges a touch. There. And that should allow us to scale up the eye. Now the eyebrow and the eyelashes are different objects that aren't properly attached, so let's go ahead and just hide them for the moment. But what we can do is when we move the eye, you can see how the eye socket itself moves. And when we want to scale the eye, the whole eye socket gets scaled. Now, if we can manage to attach the eye itself properly, which might be difficult. I'm not having much luck here. There. This is it? No, this is it. Yeah, those are it. If we attach them to the correct bones, parent, automatic weights. Okay, so there's some sort of glitch in this particular import where when I attach to an armature, it goes nuts. So this is how it is right now when it's attached to a no longer existing bone. We don't want to add any bone constraints at the moment, do we? I mean, we might want to eventually. But what I'm worried about... Oh, is this not the eye itself? Okay, so there is a modifier here. Can I paint this? Just straight up paint it? I think so. Let's go ahead and... Yeah, I can just straight up paint it. Well, that works. It's already part of the skeleton. No reason to break it. There we are. That'll do. Obviously, the bone is nowhere near in the right spot, so that'll have to be addressed. Alright, so if we pull the bone back into the right spot... Come on, there we are. Like, oop. Like this. That's more or less right. Now when we rotate it... No, we're still in edit mode. There we are. Now you can see how the eye moves properly. Let's change back into textured mode. Actually, I don't believe that the eye was ever textured properly. Sorry, materials mode. I think the eye material... Yeah, the eye material isn't set up properly, so it looks pretty gross. But you can see that it works. The eye is properly moving around. What this means is that when I scale this up, we get a scaled up eye. Now there's a little bit of chatter there at the edge where the weights don't quite match up, but you can see the basic idea here. And you don't have to scale it on just one axis, but if you scale it if you scale it on just one axis, you're going to get distortion. And distortion is a huge problem, and it's one of the things that I need to worry about most when I am doing this particular build. So if I wanted to scale the eye, I probably need to have a bone that handles the vertical scaling separately from the overall scaling. Still, with this setup, what we can do is we can move our eyes in and out without having any issues with making the eye pop out of the skull when we look around. So here you can see, even when I've got someone with narrow set eyes, the actual eye motion still works fine. And that is the point. And that's something you just do not see. There are a lot of games out there, and you can customize your face, but you can never customize the exact positioning of your eyes. Of course, this also works up and down, or will once I get the paint run correctly. So if you wanted to, you could create all sorts of weird, monstery people out of this particular setup. Let's go ahead and get the paint just a little bit tighter here so that we can see it in earnest. Sleepy Germ says, how long have you been working with Blender? I don't know, on and off for a couple of years. It's not really the best tool, but it is free, and I know that anything I can do in Blender, everyone else on the planet should be able to do. So I definitely like it for that reason. But I've never been very good at weight painting in Blender. So if you've got like weight painting in Blender advice, hook me up. Alright, so now that we have it weight painted, we can move it around and it looks a little bit better. It works a little bit nicer. So let's go ahead and there we are. Just grab this and move it up, move it down. So if we move it up, there is some stray stuff that gets left behind. If we move it back, we can see that stray stuff more exactly. This stray stuff all needs to come along for the ride. Now, a better way to do this would be to maybe use a vertex group or something similar. Maybe just mask off some stuff. This sort of hunt and peck method is really dumb, but this is just the initial blocking to see whether or not the basic skeletal structure works. So I'm not too worried. Okay, that's not too bad. So once again, when we move the eye around, it moves along fairly well. We can get a bunch of different eye shapes out of this. So for example, we can scale down 0.6 on both eyes. And we get a hilariously tiny-eyed person, but it doesn't look... I mean, it looks stupid, but it doesn't look like it's impossible in terms of physicality. Most games, when you scale your eyes or stuff like that, it ends up looking incredibly bad. And this is a way around that. The only problem is this doesn't really allow you to reshape your eye. There are a lot of times when you'll want a slightly different shape of eye, like, for example, this. And I'm not sure that that's going to work. It's not perfect. That might have to be a different bone. So we'd have a scaling bone and a shaping bone separately. But in the end, this works. Got ourselves a little character. We can scale 1.5, scale 2, and scale 2. It's 0.2. Oh, 0.02. Too far. We got ourselves a little bit of a space alien sort of thing going on here. Let's change it to rotating around the y-axis. Yeah, that's not going to work. There we are. And now we've got a space alien. Don't forget that we can scale up or down the rest of the face in a large variety of ways. So, for example, we can bring this in, and we can make maybe this nose shrink, and then bring it down. So in case you were wondering how adaptable this face rig is, we've just gotten started. And this is how adaptable the face rig is. So I'm pretty happy with this face rig. I'd be happy to hear your opinions on the matter. I'm going to go ahead and just create some faces and then post them to Twitter just so that I don't forget what's going on. But first I need to make this sun a little bit more helpful here. So duplicate and bring this other sun down here. And that should give us enough light to see the faces. Okay, so that's still a little bit dark underneath. Lower. There we are. Maybe a little bit too bright. How do I change the light? Here it is. Energy, 0.7. Better. Let me see if I can fix up this eye material. It's really bothering me at this stage. So here's the eye material, and it is currently an opaque eye material. I don't know how to... I don't often use Blender's materials. Transparency. Clicker. Mask? Ray trace? Mask? Z transparency? Alpha? Don't know. Don't know. The actual material has like a film, a white film in front of it that's set to a low alpha transparency. And normally you'd be able to see it, see through it. I don't know how to tell it to take the transparency of the material into effect. This is probably because it's in Blender Render. If we switch it over to Cycles, what do you think? Oh, it looks bad. It looks real bad. Oh well. Peter Nerlich says, why do you suppose there's no game that has used such rigs yet? Well, the thing is that this is a pretty specific set of bones, and there are going to be some limits on how useful it is. I don't think that very many games need this kind of facial rig. The closest we've got are there are some games like The Sims 4 and so on, but most of the times they have big art teams, and you just can't deny that it is prettier to physically swap out submeshes. Rather than adjusting the exact size of your chin and your eye, just swap it out for, eye mesh A, B, C, or D, each one of which has a very different detail count at very different parts of the eye. That's what The Sims does, Sims 4 in particular. You just stitch all that stuff together into one final mesh. I don't want to model 85,000 different faces, pieces of faces, so I'm gonna go with this cheap-ass method, and we're gonna hope it works out for me. This definitely needs some work, though. We have some errant red. I don't like having errant red even on tests. I'm a little bit anal retentive about that sort of thing. That's the interior. Well, for now, why don't we go ahead and just flat out hide it? Boom. Bop, 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 bop. Boom. Gone. Good. It didn't hide it. When the hiding actually hides things and when it doesn't is super mysterious to me. I would really like Blender to make up their mind as to whether hidden things show up or not. Alright, let's go over to Twitter and start to post some stuff. Tweet. I have made a face rig prototype. It's pretty grand. Paste. RSG, bring that back to the standard. It's funny how it looks wrong now that I've had that weird-ass face up for so long. Now let's make a little eyed character like this. And maybe bring in our scaling. There we are. Yeah, that's right. Oh, I can't see the, there we are. Yeah, I'm never sure whether or not people have questions because I'm not really very good at the streaming thing, so I keep losing track of the chat. So if you do have questions, let me know or ask them again in case if I missed them. I don't yet have the eyebrow rigs, so the characters can't have a full expression, but it's not too bad. They've got a pretty decent lower face expressionistness. Where is our lower jaw scaling? There it is. Let's go ahead and raise these eyes up. Well, it looks like I have some errant verts. See that? You look weird. Better. I don't really have a cheek system yet for making puffy cheeks or anything. I'll have to... Oh, god damn it, Twitter. God damn it, Twitter. It just deselected all of my work. Let's try again. Yep, too much. I think that's probably the biggest I can reasonably make them. Rotate X, rotate Y point, rotate Y 10, rotate Y 10. Let's give us some eye workouts here. Oh, that's not the eye workout I want to give. Well, I guess I'll just leave those as they are, because there's no eye material that makes it easy to see things, so... Oh, I see what's dropping them back behind the lines there. That's interesting. And let's see. Whoop. What other face types are there? How about something with narrow eyes? Still looks a little bit Batman villain-esque, this smile. You may have to tweak that a couple more times, I think. Without the teeth moving, it doesn't look right either. Alright, so let's go ahead and beef up the lips a little bit. Why not? And give it a little bit of a twist on the nose to make it look broken. How about that? Hashtag game dev post before Twitter cancels it and forgets all the images I pasted in. Thank you. All right, so I hope there were no questions in the past 10 minutes. So Cartonio says you're going to hook this into an avatar layer mask in Unity. This is going to be the fundamental skeleton for the characters in the Galactic Line. Obviously, it's not done yet, and the mapping is still pretty basic. But the basic idea is sound, and it seems to be working out piece by piece. Guard says, "Heyo, how's it going?" And it's going fairly well. Justin A says it looks creepy. Yeah, I was playing around with the extremes of what I could create. Obviously, you normally wouldn't. I just wanted to see how far I could push it. Oh no. Obviously, you don't want to push it that far. But, I mean, you can do more normal things with it, too. You don't have to go off to the edge of possibility space. So, you know, it's just fun to have the capability. Before I go, I think I'm going to work on the brow rig. So if we bring this forward like this, this will be our brow scaling bone. And we're going to want to put it up. We're going to want to put it up here. Obviously, all of the brow animation bones are going to be coming off of that. Now, the trick to brow animation bones is that they don't come from in here. It may be, you know, you may want to put your bones in here and be like, yeah, this is obviously where they go. But the simple fact is that they actually start way out here. Maybe not outside the head, but really far out. And that is how you want to lever all of your brow animations. So this would be brow outer left, and this would be brow outer right. And then we bring it in. Oop, screwed that up. Brow outer left, right? Why did that change? That was weird. Why did I make it full? Come on, start thinking. Not having a very smart day at the moment, but that's okay. I've been doing okay with the rest of the time. Just going to disconnect this stuff here. And these are going to be more like there. This is going to be brow mid R and brow mid L. The mid L, ha 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 ha. Okay, and then we gotta EY forward again. Disconnect, disconnect. There we go. And this will be brow center R, and this will be brow center L. And those are going to be how we do our animation. We'll probably move them around a little bit, because this is definitely a temporary location for them. But the basic idea is sound. So we're going to want to just do some weight painting here. Boom. Go here. I just blur it. Blur. To be honest, I think that the blur is really bad in Blender. But whatever. We definitely don't need it to actually be down this far. So let's clear that up. There we are. Like that. That's a little bit better. And now, to draw in the brows, what we really want to do is mostly focus on this innermost bone. The rest of the brow will follow along. So like this. And we will just go ahead and blur out the edges here. All right. So if we want to do animations, we can just raise and lower the brow like so. We can also scale it and even flat out move it. If we look at it from a different angle, like this one, we get a different expression. So from here, when we raise the whole thing, you can see how it gives a very soft sort of feel. Whereas from here, it gives a much more worried look. And from here, it gives you a really, really terrified look. You know, oh no. I think, however, that we're going to want to adjust that inner bone in a little bit more. So let's grab it. Yep, there we go. So this, not bad. Some question over whether that's a strong enough weight, but not bad. And this, yeah, not bad. Okay. You want someone to look angry? Then you do this and this. We're missing the actual eyebrow at the moment, so it's a little bit tough. But, you know. And so here you can see what it looks like when we increase just the basic brow size. And that's not too bad at all. Lots of ways to do it, and they all work out just fine. Why did you click on the face? Yeah, now we've got our brow set up. That's fun. All right, we got lots of cool things we can do with this now. We can make even more faces than we could a second ago. The question is, how well does it interact with our eyeball? So let's take our eyeball here and move it in, scale it up, and just see how that looks. I think it'll be okay once we attach the brow. Yeah, I think it'll be fine. All right, well, that was a fun hour. Anyone have any questions or anything? I'm not sure what I want to go with next in terms of setting up this facial expression system. I guess I do need cheeks, don't I? So if this is the jaw, the cheek is going to have to come off of this center point here. Yeah, so that's what I'll do next, unless someone has a better idea. Yep, fork it, please. This is going to be cheek L. This is going to be cheek R. And to tell you the truth, I'm not at all sure that this is where they should go, because the cheeks do play a fairly big role in facial expression. I say as I move my cheeks around to see exactly what kind of role they play. I don't think we have a choice, though. I think they're going to have to be separated. I just don't see any other way to do it. The cheeks will also serve double duty as jowls. Won't that be fun? And we'll just there we are, like that. Boom, 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 boom. And so now when we scale up, you can see we get some chubby cheeks, but it's not in the right spot. Well, let's blur it and then put it in the right spot. All right, so now we switch and go over to the bones tab, take our cheeks, and move them back. There we go. That should do. Now when we scale it up, okay, that's a little bit better. We definitely have some problems with it moving in on the cheekbone, so let's go ahead and change the paint job. Let's draw a weight of 0 and just chip off some of this excess facial weight. There we are. So now we can get ourselves some cheeks going. We can also get ourselves some hollow cheeks, the opposite. And those are the two things I wanted out of this bone. So if we then move, we should be able to get some jowls. Yeah. Not too pronounced, but just pronounced enough to be noticeable. And if we want to animate this to produce a facial expression, we can. But if we do that, we're not going to be able to move it in order to create a jowl. In which case, we'll have to rotate it. We can do rotating with one, and we can do expressions with the other. Sorry, we can do rotations and we can do translations, but we can't do them both for facial forming if we want to use the same bone for expressions. On the other hand, if we don't care about the expressions with that bone, then we can do whatever we want. So the idea here is that when properly balanced, this smile here will end up creating a ridge between the smiling mouth and the cheek. You can sort of see what I'm talking about, that ridge there. Right now, the weight painting is not perfect. It's not correct, but that is the ridge we're talking about. We want that ridge to form organically whenever the expression calls for it. Now, the downside of all of this is that it's really tough to get that cheek bunching where the face moves upward when you are tweaking out your face. If the cheekbone was here, I could probably do it. Shall we try it? Let's move the cheekbone way up and see what happens. Yeah, that actually looks better. Way better. You put the bones in the right spot and things work out. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. I like it. Yeah, that's what we'll do. That's the ticket. And now the jowls are much more pronounced as well. Great, great, perfect. Everything's running fine. All right, well, let's make one more face for the road. If you've got any questions, this is your last chance to ask because I am just about done for the evening. But what happens if we rotate along the z-axis here? Oh, that's good. I like it. I'll create a little bit of a piggy face here. Let's see what I can get away with reshaping the nose. Pull this out, bring it down, something like that. If I bring this up, I can... Yeah, that's a ticket. Definitely need to blur that. It's a little bit too aggressive on the edge of the lip there. Can't really use that for an expression the way it is. Alright, I think that's everything for today. I feel pretty good. This was a fairly short, hour-and-a-half long stream, but I got so much done, you guys! I feel totally happy. I got a ton done during work today, and then I came home and got a ton done during stream. I'm gonna play XCOM 2 for the rest of the night. But not on stream. I'll see you guys on Saturday if you care to show up, and I'll be trying to finish up this skeleton and then start to bring it into a more completed version over the course of the next 2 or 3 weeks. I probably won't finish before Christmas, but I will have a giant break over Christmas where I will be free to do nothing but develop this game, and that'll be fun. So I will see you around. I'll pay attention to chat for a little bit longer, and then I will go eat. Bye.